What is happening? My name is Matt Bradford. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about how I record guitars, specifically lap steels, but this works for any guitar. I want to talk about 3 different ways. I use microphones in an ISO booth. I use a Suhr Reactive load IR, and I use a Notes Captor X. Now I have all 3 because they serve 3 different purposes. This is not going to be like an A-B because I don't think there's a better or worse. There's just, they all do different things. But I'm going to give you some comparisons, some sound stuff. Why do I use one over another, etc. So let's dive in. Okay, so today I'm using my Tungsten single Plex. It's a 5-watt plexi. It's a single-ended plexi. In the effects loop, I have my wrought iron effects. What is that called? It's a spring reverb that Ed built for me. It's in a Chevy valve cover. It's so cool. It's one of a kind. Ed can do this stuff for you too. He'll do whatever color you want, whatever. But it's super cool. And then I'm gonna hit it with a Kasleder effects Pelion, which is a clone style, pedal. But for starters, this is how I have the plexi set. I've jumped the 2 channels, and they're both at about 7. And I'll give you a picture of the settings, but it sounds like this. Just super cool. And then on top of that, I'm gonna hit it with the Pelion. Now I've gotten some grief that the pedals are behind me, and I should have it by my feet, and that's true, but that's not usually. It would require a lot of moving wires around and wire ties and stuff just for the sake of this. So I'm going to turn around and turn the pedal on, but this is what it sounds like with the pedal on. Ha ha ha! It's awesome. So, and you can hear the spring reverb. It's really lovely. And that's going into microphones. We're gonna go through all of it. The reason that I'm using a 5-watt amp is because I have a booth. It's from LA Vocal Booths. I'll find a picture of it and I'll put it up on the screen. But it's great for vocals. It's great for isolation. But it's only like 1.5 to 2 inches thick. It's a double-walled booth. It's a great booth. But as soon as you put an amp in there, it's not going to be. It's not an ISO booth that's going to be great for amps. You still get a lot of sound. I'm also using a 2x10 cab because a 2x10 in there sounds awesome. And again, this is my preferred sound. If no one's sleeping and I can be loud and doing all the stuff. But that's not always the case. I'm gonna try turning, I don't know how well this is a pretty directional microphone, but let me turn the amp mics off and see if you can just hear. That's just the sound in the room. Now again, that's 5 watts. If I go to my 20-watt amps, it gets a lot louder. I need to go to a bigger cab for my louder amps, my 40 and my 50-watt amps, but then it's too loud. I have a 112 in there as well, which you saw in the photo, and even that gets louder because there's more low end. And then I have put a 2x12 in there. My buddy came over with his Suhr 212, and it was just like we were only running my DCC plexi into that, so I think it's like 14 watts. But it was like I went outside and it was too loud. It was loud in the room, and outside it was too. I really try to be respectful of the people around me. That's important to me, especially as a musician. A lot of musicians are not respectful of the people around them, and I hate that. I hate it. So I try to be respectful of the people around me. Hence the booths. Hence the load boxes, hence all the stuff. So a 210 cab in this booth with 5 watts is great if everyone's awake, my partner's not on a call or something, right, that I can just be loud. I have to check with everybody first, make sure, like, hey, I'm going to be loud. Is that okay? You know, if people are asleep, if we have guests, whatever, it becomes super inappropriate. So that is, but this is my preferred sound. So check it out. This is, and also I have, one more thing. Oh, God. So with microphones, I've got the mics in the booth running into 2 separate external rad preamps. I'm right now using a CAPI VP28 on the SM57, and I'm using a Lauren Audio Panther on the ribbon microphone. So I've got, I don't remember what the microphones cost, $700 and $100, let's say. Let's say it's $800 in microphones. Let's say it's another over $1,000 in preamps, right? And then we're going into Logic, and so you want to have good conversion, whatever, but that's important for all of it. So that's a $2,000 chain, and then you also have to have the speaker cab, which was like $500 or something. So let's say it's a $2,500 chain to go in just to get into the computer. Sounds like this. Sounds great. They're not panned hard left and right. I have them in at about 30% each. I like a little bit of stereo. It feels better, especially in headphones. But even in speakers, it feels a lot nicer to me than straight mono, especially in a treated room. But so let's come up with a groove that I can use as I compare all these different things, right? So okay, so we'll get that low. And we also need some high. So that sounds awesome. And that's, again, my preferred sound. But let's say that I can't be that loud. I have a couple other options. So the first one is the Suhr Reactive Load IR. Okay, here's what I've done. Through the magic of the internet, you didn't have to see this, but I mean the magic of video, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I turned the amp on standby. You never want to unplug a speaker from an active amp. The speaker cab in my booth is a 16-ohm cab. I'm going into a Torpedo Captor 8. So that's an 8-ohm load. Captor X 8. Okay, so the back of the Tungsten has a impedance, I think that's the right word, selector switch. You want to go into either a matched impedance, or you want to go into an impedance that is more than the load, but no more than, pardon me, but no more than twice the load. That is my understanding. I'm not an expert, but I try not to blow my amps up. So that means that if I'm running an 8-ohm load out of the amplifier, I want to go into 8 up to 16 ohms. Because this is selectable, I want to be as efficient as possible, and I want to go just 16 ohms in there, and I want to go 8 ohms out here, and I have a selector. The other thing that's cool is the Weber cab, and I'll take a picture of this. For the back plate, I have I can either go in 16 ohms, I can go into each individual speaker at 8 ohms, or I can go into the whole cab at 4 ohms. It makes it really great for, I like to record sometimes my Tungsten single plex, and I also have I don't think it's in the shot, but maybe it is, this Mosaic, this little 5-watt champ style amp, and pan them hard, not hard left and right, a little bit in, but it just creates a really nice, like, big sound. And I can do it with that. I can't do it with one of the load boxes, although I can do it with both. So, that was so many words. All right, the two Notes Captor X is a really cool load box. Now, I have a number of settings that I like. None of them are a 2x10 cab. That's why this is not an AB. That's why this is not a shootout. That's because the sounds that I get out of this are different than the sounds I want out of what's in the booth. It's different than the sounds I want out of the Suhr. I'm looking for the best sound in a given box, not necessarily the one that like which one does the best Marshall 412. I don't know. They're all different. So with the Captor X, there's a lot of options, and I'm gonna pull the UI up on the screen here, and I'll talk you through a little bit of it just because it's pretty cool. But basically, I have different amps here, and I can change them either through the UI, or I don't have to be plugged in to change some of my other settings, right? And this is probably my favorite setting. It's a 2x12 cab, and I like having sort of the less bright and less brashy microphones on it, running an 87 condenser and a Ribbon 160. I also have spring reverb on there. I have EQ that I can run if I want to. I'm not running it now, but I probably could, and it would probably help. And in fact, I'm not gonna. We'll test it. I'm just from what I know about this amp. Let's just see about just doing a little bit of EQ. I'll have to do that again when I film. Whatever, it's fine. And then I have reverb on there. I have an enhancer. I have all this stuff. I have all of these things, which is great. It's pretty complicated. I don't always love that. The reason that I have this one is it's small, so it travels the most easily. So if I'm going to a gig and I want to have my in-ears, for example, I can run the cab and then I can run this out to my in-ears so that I can hear what's happening. But like when I'm playing, I'm often not in a venue that's got a super sophisticated system for monitoring, and so being able to control my own levels, what I'm hearing is great. So this is the Torpedo Captor X. Okay, now I still have the spring reverb from the I know words from the wrought iron effects on. I still have the real spring, but I also have some additional reverb in here. Again, I like it. It's a stereo reverb. It's really nice. It adds a little more zhuzh. So again, if I'm in a standalone situation, especially where I don't bring something for effects loop, it's just one more thing to plug in, then I'm going to go with the Captor X. So let's go back. Let's hear the microphones. Okay, and then back to the Captor X. Right? Oh, reverb sounds great. Microphones. Captor X. So that's pretty cool. And again, I'll pull that EQ that I just added. I didn't add it. I didn't add it. I don't like it. I'm not going to add it. I didn't add an EQ, and I don't like the way I did it. Completely blind with no awareness. So that sounds great though. Now, if I compare it to the microphones, it obviously sounds different, and then you start hearing the deficiencies in each, but that's what it is. So I have the Torpedo Captor X. Sounds like... we have the speaker cab in the booth. It sounds like this. Okay, so there's one more. The Suhr Reactive Load IR. Let me hook it up real quick. Okay, we're back. Suhr, again, standby. Switch the speaker cable. Again, you don't want an unloaded amp. It's the way to damage things. So, and if you're asking why, I don't know. Ask an amp guy. I'm just the guy with the amps. But I've blown up enough of them to know. So the Suhr Reactive Load IR. This is another great load box. I actually prefer it sonically a lot of times. It feels a little harder. It feels a little more direct. It definitely has like a crispiness in the top end. It sounds different than the Captor X. And so it was my main load box for a while. Let me just tell you, I had a Roland load box. I was just talking about this with Adam from Tungsten. It was cool. But I was blowing up power tubes in the Black Volt. I blew up the power section in my single rectifier twice. I lost a output transformer in my 67 Bandmaster, and did anything else happen over here? I don't know. Whatever. I kept having problems with my amps, and so I sent it back to Roland. They were like, power section's good, everything's good, it's totally working properly, and I was like, that seems awful. So I sold it. When I sold it, I totally gave I told the guy that bought it, I gave him all of the disclaimers. I told him exactly what had happened. I sold it to him cheap. But I explained, like, this is what has happened. And he was like, oh, well, you're not setting these two knobs right. It's like, okay, great. Then it's all yours. You're welcome to it. Here's the note from Roland saying it works great, but I don't want any part of it. It's if it's these two knobs that are causing output transformers to go and tubes that are not inexpensive to go. I went through 3 sets of 6L6s. I went through a few sets of 6 V6s. I don't like to use JJs. I like to use nicer tubes. I just, it costs as much as the unit by the end of it all, and all the repairs and a new transformer and everything. So I got rid of that, and I went to the Suhr Reactive Load. And the Reactive Load is a really nice box. It seems to work great. I haven't had any of the problems since I went to either the Suhr or the Two Notes Torpedo. Those two have been great. And is this, you can just see this stupid cable just on there. I'm very professional. All right, it's off. Whoa. So I haven't had problems with either of these. So that has been great for me. I'm not here to tell you that anything is good or bad. That was just my experience. Since going to these two, I have had no problems at all. And that was a few years ago. So that's pretty cool. Now, the Suhr sounds like this. It's a little bright in this context. I think I probably would just go to the Two Notes in this context, but let me see if I can find a different IR. And again, it's such an easy thing to do. Okay, so my favorite one, 2.3. That's it. Just switch to 2.3. That's pretty awesome. And I really like that it's just it's so easy to get a sound, and then everything else that's going to happen is in the box. Right? I'm coming out of the reactive load into there. There's no reverbs or mic placement or this or that. It's just, here's the thing, this is the sound, get the best sound you can get with turning the knob, and then adjust it in the box. It makes it really easy for me to plug in and go. The Captor X, I've really spent a lot of time fiddling with my presets. I've got 6 presets in there that I think all sound great, but let me pull the UI up again real quick and just show you, like, I have a billion different cabs. I've tried all the different cabinet manager, like all of these cabs are are loaded, and I've gone through them, and I spent like hours just figuring out these are the ones I have licensed, right? Like, and I've just spent hours just figuring out the ones I like the best. If you're interested, I'll tell you what I'm using. Well, I showed you what I was using. I'll put up a list of what I have. But like, you know, there's just so many options, and that's cool. It's cool that there's so many options. It's a tweaker's delight, and there are times where I really want to tweak something and get it dialed in. But to be honest with you, you know, for the most part, I just want to plug in and play, and anything that gets in the way of me hitting the strings is usually a detriment. That being said, that's the one I take with me to gigs and stuff. So they're all different, and they're all great. Let's compare. Okay, again, not an A/B. I've picked one cabinet that I like the best for this sound in the Suhr. Again, the Suhr's a little brighter sounding to me in general. I probably wouldn't use it with a cranked up plexi with a Klon that's a lot of high end. But check it out. So here's the Suhr. Right, here's the Torpedo. And here is the speaker cabinet. So let's look at that again. Here's the Suhr. Okay, here's the Torpedo. And here's the speaker cabinet. So you can draw your own conclusions as far as like which one you like the best. Again, I like having multiple ones. I like having different sounds. A lot of times if something isn't working, oh, this is too dark, well then switch to another one. Oh, this is too bright, switch to another one. I love the stereo effects in the Torpedo, but I love the simplicity of the Suhr. And my favorite is obviously microphones. That's just, I mean, personally, if I want something brighter, I move the microphone slightly towards the middle of the speaker. If I want it darker, I move it slightly away. If I want it to be a little, you know, I can dial in the preamps to have a little bit of grit. I can dial in the preamps to be super clean, although I rarely do that. I can add all this different character with the microphones that I can't do as well with the IR loaders. But also, with the IR loaders, I don't have to get a divorce. You know what I mean? I don't have to have the cops showing up because I've got my amps cranked up at 5 in the morning, which is a lot of times when I'm doing my videos. And again, like a 210 is about max for the current booth I have. My dream is to build a booth that can handle a 212 in a reasonable manner where I could play it anytime I want and no one would have to hear it. But that's a major build. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. You know, little short guy. If you like what I'm doing, please join me on Patreon. Today was obviously not a jamming video, but I have a bunch of lap steel lessons. I think they're applicable to all different instruments, and I do a different backing track 4 to 7 times a week. And you know, you can see the solos on Instagram. So yeah, that was awesome. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for hanging.